Mike Tyson was once the most feared man in sports, a killer in the ring eyes, cold with intensity. But when he sat next to Diddy during the now infamous interview, everything changed. The atmosphere shifted, and Tyson's response to Diddy's subtle touch spoke volumes. People used to say that nobody could intimidate Mike Tyson, but what made him react like that? Tyson wasn't the type to simply step aside. He wasn't soft. If something crossed a line, he made it known. But in that moment, Tyson's reaction was calm, controlled, but undeniable. He moved Diddy's hand from his back, and knowing what we know now, the footage hits differently. What happened here was more than just a casual gesture. It was about being uncomfortable with touch. Tyson wasn't laughing. He wasn't smiling. He was sending a clear message. His actions reflected years of experience with powerful men and manipulative behavior. Tyson had seen the power dynamics at play before. He wasn't about to be part of that game. Diddy, the smooth-talking mogul with a magnetic presence, had always been able to control the room, but not this time. Tyson's move said everything without uttering a word. Diddy's charm had always been his weapon. A smooth-talking billionaire mogul, a man of influence, his personality was magnetic. But those who had been around him, those who saw him behind the scenes, began to hint at something darker. A pattern emerged, not about business, but about control, humiliation, and testing boundaries. For years, 50 Cent made it his mission to expose Diddy, dragging his name into the light. Through jokes and trolling, he sent a message that wasn't just for laughs, it was a warning. Back in 2014, 50 Cent discussed an unsettling moment with Diddy on The Breakfast Club, where Diddy allegedly asked him to go shopping, not as business partners, but as two men alone. 50 said it caught him off guard. He shared the moment, and though the clip became a viral joke, 50 didn't stop there. Over the years, he continued to post subtle images and captions calling Diddy out. One image of Diddy hugging record exec. Steve Stout was paired with the caption, "I ain't saying nothing but something ain't right." It was a joke on the surface, but the message was clear. 50 wasn't just clowning around, he was pointing to something much darker. Jaguar Wright, a singer and whistleblower, took it a step further. She wasn't joking, she was testifying. In one interview, she claimed that Diddy had been using his position to manipulate men for decades. She recounted a story from an ex-attorney who had worked inside Bad Boy Records. The attorney walked into Diddy's office one day, only to find a shocking scene. Christopher Williams, an R&B artist, was allegedly performing oral sex on Diddy. When the attorney brought it up to Diddy later, his response wasn't shame or regret. Instead, he reportedly said, "If I can make a man mine, I can make people do anything for money. Let that sink in. That is not about preference, that is about dominance. It is about pushing people into situations they can talk about." Diddy's power wasn't just in his business deals, it was in his ability to control those around him. This is the same man who has been accused of throwing parties where people didn't know what they were walking into. Gene Deal Diddy's former head of security claimed that Diddy used hidden cameras and isolated people at his events, pushing them into uncomfortable situations. These weren't tea parties, they were tests of power. And Mike Tyson, a man who fought through more than his fair share of battles, wasn't about to be part of that game. When you look back at that Tyson interview, that exact moment where Tyson grabs Diddy's hand and moves it, it doesn't feel random. It feels like a man reacting to a pattern he has seen before. Tyson's calm, but deliberate gesture wasn't just discomfort with touch. It was a man who has been around enough powerful men to know when something is off. Tyson was not afraid of Diddy. He was done playing along. Tyson's history is filled with unpredictable behavior, both in the ring and outside of it. He has always been a man who terrified others with his presence. But when he subtly moved, Diddy's hand in that moment, it struck a nerve. Mike Tyson doesn't usually move like that. But when you look at his past, it is clear that moment wasn't just a spontaneous reaction, it came from experience. There was a reason the internet replayed that old clip of Tyson shouting at a reporter during a post-fight meltdown. Tyson's words were calculated psychological weapons, and they scared people. But they also planted a question: why did he go there? It wasn't a one-off. It was part of a longer pattern of behavior that people are now starting to reassess. Years later, Tyson spoke openly on his podcast, Hotboxing with Mike Tyson, about his past, including his history of homophobic comments. He admitted to making ignorant statements, but also explained that D had gay friends and family members. In that moment, Tyson acknowledged the complexity of his past. He didn't shy away from it. He didn't try to distance himself from the speculation. He just accepted it. And while he never confirmed or denied rumors about his relationship with Diddy, the silence about that moment is telling. It is not typical for Mike Tyson to stay silent about something, but this moment wasn't just a simple gesture. It was a boundary being drawn when you look at Tyson's bankruptcy. Diddy's history of manipulating vulnerable men and the leaked trial documents connecting Diddy to blackmail and coercion. That interview moment takes on a different meaning. It's not just awkward. It has evidence Tyson didn't need to explain it. He just moved Diddy's hand. That simple motion spoke volumes about the power dynamics at play. Tyson's history of losing everything he once had. His fortune, respect, and circle mirrors the power imbalances that exist in Hollywood. By the time Tyson declared bankruptcy in 2003, he was over $23 million in debt. At the same time, Diddy was on the rise, throwing infamous parties that blurred the lines between business and control. The way Diddy tested boundaries, introducing substances and creating compromising situations for his guests, is now coming to light. Those who were vulnerable like Tyson may have needed help, but with that help came a price one they couldn't easily escape. Tyson wasn't the only one who felt trapped. Gene Deal and others have said they kept quiet for years. Some say they were threatened. Others say they were paid. The ones who've spoken out didn't do so until they felt untouchable. Tyson, however, wasn't untouchable in the same way. He may have been a global icon, but when you were caught in the orbit of someone like Diddy, you learn to play by different rules, and that was what made the interview moment so significant. It wasn't a random gesture. It was a reset, a boundary drawn in real time. Tyson had been in enough power struggles to know when to step back. And in that moment, the silence spoke louder than any words could. Tyson wasn't afraid of Diddy. He was done playing along. This wasn't about fear. It was about survival. And that one gesture, that simple move of Diddy's hand, became the most honest moment Tyson had given in years. It said everything without saying a word. Tyson's history of losing everything was public. By the mid-90s, Tyson had earned more than $400 million. Some estimates even place it closer to $700 million through fight purses, endorsements, appearances, and licensing deals. He was a global icon, the baddest man on the planet. But within a few short years, he lost all of it, and he didn't just lose it in silence. He burned through it publicly. Tyson once said he would carry duffel bags with millions in cash, refusing to trust banks. He spent over $4 million on cars, more than $2 million on a golden bathtub, and at one point owned 3 Bengal tigers that cost him $70,000 each, not including the $125,000 annual upkeep. He also bought multiple mansions, one of which had a full club inside it, complete with a dance floor DJ booth and cage dancers. Tyson was living like his money would never run out, and when advisors tried to warn him, he didn't want to hear it. In 2003, Tyson declared personal bankruptcy after making $300 million. What happened? Well, besides me having a lot of fun, I allow people to be involved in my life that really wasn't honest people. By the time he declared bankruptcy in 2003, Tyson was over $23 million in debt. He owed $13.4 million to the IRS, millions in legal fees, and even had unpaid jewelry bills. He had to auction off his home's cars and even fight for pennies just to keep the lights on. And while all that was happening, while Tyson was bleeding cash and drowning in lawsuits, Diddy was rising. This is where their paths crossed, not in friendship, but in power imbalance. At the same time, Tyson was auctioning off his mansion in Connecticut. Diddy was throwing infamous parties in New York and LA events that have since become the subject of lawsuits, testimonies, and leaked security files. His name is now tied to multiple legal battles involving allegations of coercion abuse, secret surveillance, and underground gatherings that were more about manipulation than music. People thought the parties were harmless, but the details coming out in court say otherwise. According to sworn affidavit, Diddy used a mix of intimidation and rewards to pull people in, especially those at rock-bottom court filings, reference private gatherings where guests were expected to leave phones at the door sign, NDAs, and in some cases be filmed without their knowledge, hidden cameras, drugs, escorts, armed security. These weren't tea parties, they were power tests, and during Tyson's lowest years, he was in those rooms. That is what makes this so disturbing. When someone like Diddy sees desperation, he doesn't look away. He offers help, but help that comes with a price. And Tyson, stripped of wealth, public respect, and a stable circle, may have needed that help more than anyone. Jaguar, wasn't he exaggerating? He said, "If I can make a man mine, I can make people do anything for money." That's what you said. Puff, that's the kind of man Tyson was dealing with. And if you think that kind of mindset stayed in the shadows, think again. Gene Deal Diddy's former bodyguard later said that many of these parties were designed not for celebration, but for compromise. Diddy would test boundaries, introduce substances, create situations where guests felt obligated, intimidated, or simply too high to fight back. And according to John, those moments were often recorded. You might not even know the camera was on, but it was. So now think back to Tyson. Broke, shamed, and trying to rebuild. If Diddy extended a hand, what was in that handshake? What was offered behind the scenes? And more importantly, what was expected in return? There is no public record of Tyson accusing Diddy of anything, but there is also no denial that he was in that world during the darkest period of his life. And in the middle of all this, in a studio full of cameras, he suddenly shifts in his chair, reaches back, grabs Diddy's hand from behind him and puts it back on Diddy's own lap. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't flirtation, it was a reset, a boundary drawn in real time. And if that moment didn't make sense back then, it does now. Because when you line up Tyson's bankruptcy, Diddy's history of, and maybe that's why Tyson never said anything afterward. Because you don't speak out against someone who might still be holding the footage. You don't speak out against a man who helped you when you were vulnerable. If that help came with secrets attached, you just move his hand, fix your posture and sit in silence, hoping the camera doesn't catch what really just happened.